Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of Banter Blitz. And I've decided no more casual. We're done with mailing it in here at Chess24, leaning back, reading out computer lines, saying, don't really care, whining about my old age, my inability to play Blitz. Instead of giving a bit of an effort, not gonna be able to do it any longer. So today I shall be focused, I shall be tied up, I shall not be able to breathe, shall be wearing my pocket square, which normally disappears like halfway through the show, and I shall be taking 5-minute challenges. I'm old, don't give me this 3-minute stuff. Like, no one can talk and play a 3-minute game without losing their marbles in the long term. So let's do this. Challenge me to chess games. I shall play you and then talk about it if you're a Chess24 premium member. That's all there is, really. That was all the energy I had from now on. Back to same old, same old. Do I have any challenges? The site is behaving weirdly today, is it not? I probably have to abort my test game against Claudia first. I normally crush Claudia, but since I have to abort so much, she has a better score than she deserves. She's one of the computer opponents here. But she might be real, might be a Westworld situation, where if I keep playing her, she gains full consciousness one day. And that would be bad news for everybody. Another thing about wearing a tie, which I'd forgotten, since I've been tieless for so long, is that it constantly makes me wanna, what's the word, burp? Which is not good internet streamy vision, I've been told. So that's one of the drawbacks I'm gonna have to get used to again. And I'm gonna have to get used to the crushing as well. Who shall we play? A lot of challenges, apparently. What about, let's just get started. I don't know who to choose. Epinikion, German dude. Epinikion. I shall advance my e-pawn 2 squares to the center. He does the same thing, not giving any ground, not giving me any grounds for happiness. And I'm a classically trained player. I will play the so-called Rulopeth. Nowadays, these crazy young kids out there, they enjoy playing, what do you call this? The Gioco Piano. But I like to stick to my guns. Play the Rulopeth. What is this? Some crazy gambit line? C3, D5? Never seen this one in my life. I'm guessing knight e5, queen g5. And white is better, but you have to think about stuff in order to refute it. Which would be a great pity. And thinking, not really my cup of tea. So I will try to find a way to weasel out of any complications. Play d4 and think now. So technically not avoiding the think tank. e4, knight d4 was my point, but I haven't really thought it through after knight ge7, which looks very logical. Therefore, I will do exactly that now. Knight ge7. If e d5, he has to go queen d5. Problem is, queen d5 looks perfectly fine. So what else can I do? After knight g7, I can play a move like bishop to e3. By a move like bishop to e3, I mean specifically bishop to e3, tending to take on c6 and then on c5. He can, however, take on d4, and after, well, let's just put it on the board. After, let's say, bishop takes d4 or queen takes d4, castle away. He could also go d takes e4, because knight takes c6, as I realize now, is not as big a threat as I thought it was, really. But that didn't happen. This happened. And I'm not quite sure what's going on. I would like to castle, because I feel a little ill at ease. Is that English? People have been saying, and by people I mean you people, that normally when I question my English, I got it right. So I'm gonna assume that ill at ease is indeed English. I feel a little ill at ease with my king in the center, and I would really like to castle. However, if he goes de4, I will do no such thing, but I will greedily go bishop takes c6, intending to win material after, for example, queen d1, king d1. I was gonna say bc6, bishop e7, but just as I was talking, I realized that after de, stay with me here, bishop c6, queen d1, king d1, he has rook d8 check, king somewhere, and then knight takes c6, which would have been bad news for me. I'm sure after d I had some cunning way to play, but Didn't happen. Now after bishop e6, I can finally castle. Didn't feel like any adventures with bishop c6, bishop e7, ed5. With my king still in the center. Hence, I safely tucked it away on the king side, where it's defended by these three dudes. Now DE, can I still do this? Can I still do my trick? I thought this still works, or maybe not still, it works now because there's no longer a Zwischenschach on d8. So bishop c6 and bc, just queen d8, bishop e7. Therefore queen d1, rook d1, knight c6, I'll take on f8. Best black can do here is to go knight c6, bishop f8, queen f8, and hope to gain a little compensation for the exchange. He does have a pawn after all. The game is by no means over, but still, I'll take the extra exchange any day of the week. Here we go. Oh, what do I do? I don't know. Get some pieces out, I guess. Reese's Pieces. I thought we had agreed to play without pinning, but Epinikion does not seem to remember our contract negotiations when we decided to settle on playing this game of chess. And he does pin me, which, well, it's a bit of a low blow, but you know what they say. When they go low, we go high. Who said that? Michelle Obama? I think so. Anyway, I missed queen c5 and e3, and I'm now very unhappy about all this counterplay. But I will, of course, try to keep a straight face, pretend it was all part of my master plan. Is it very believable? My master plan was just to get a terrible position? Probably not. Rook d2 bothers me a little bit. Teeny tiny bit. Here we go. b4, rook e2, bc. This e3 pawn is so strong. I think I should keep queens on the board. Even then, it's quite nasty. This could end badly. But it could also end well. Nah, who am I kidding? I'm not a glass half full guy. I'm a gimme that e3 pawn guy. And I believe step number one to eventually winning it would be to isolate it by going f4. But after f4, queen e4 is kind of awkward as well. I'm in real trouble here. What to do? Gotta go f4 anyway. But it's not a pleasant position. The black pieces are just so active. And this pawn is a MFing monster. So not great. Okay, as usual, we shall switch to plan B. Win on time. But is that satisfying in the long run, that I can't outplay Epinikion? It's quite satisfying. Yep, this e-pawn unfortunately will need all of my attention. Which is a pity, because I'd like to roam around with my rooks. Not gonna be able to do it because the e-pawn is so strong. I'll try to make something happen with this rook here, but after knight d5 it's not even clear how it can enter the game. No, it's just a sad situation. Time to take a trip to Chipoville. I can't even see any cheapos. I was hoping, well, I'm threatening queen d8 check, so that is the cheapo. But I was hoping that I had something strong after knight f4. Can't say I really see it. Queen d8, king f7, queen c7. Nah, I don't see it. Once again, queen d8 check is a massive threat. But he can parry that by, for example, playing knight e6. Yep, nothing I can do. I don't want to allow him to get his knight to f4 to fortify this pawn. Then again, after knight f4 I have g3. So upon further reflection, I wanna by all means allow him to get his knight to f4. Still not exactly winning, to be perfectly frank. But I've had worse positions in this game. Black, I guess this is this a draw? It's probably a draw, right? With my two g-pawns. But at least I can claim enough winning chances so that my flagging is not overly embarrassing. But great game, epinikion, and bumpy start, as usual. Let's play someone else. Wow, bunch of strong people out there. How about Mr. Galois? Are those the cigarettes I used to smoke in the old days? Smoking is bad, kids. Don't do it. Nah, those are spelled differently. And Galois is from Italy. We are playing, well, it could still become many things. You know what? Let's play the good old aggressive exchange Slav. He plays a6 in front, ahead of knight c6. Not sure what that's about. But I guess it doesn't matter. And this position is one of the main lines. In the old days, when I played this a bit more, I always started with rook c1, not with e3, because e3 allows bishop g4. Black is supposed to be fine. Well, after rook c1, bishop f5, e3. Well, black is also supposed to be fine, but there's some more questions to be asked. If black goes e6, sort of burying his own bishop on c8, white, in theory, is a little bit better. It's nothing clear or nothing huge, of course, but at least it's quite playable. Bishop d3, allowing this bishop f4, ef4, is another thing you could argue about. I quite like the structure, so I don't think there's any need to spend time on bishop g3 or knight e5 or bishop takes d6. But once again, one could certainly have a different opinion on that topic. Knight e7, many options now, leading to a pleasant position for me. Just taking on d6 was maybe easiest. I thought knight e5, knight g6, bishop g3 was more challenging, but I'm not sure. Just playing it simple looked quite tempting as well. Now if he takes on e5, then de, knight d7, I probably have to go, I'm not sure if I have to go f4. Maybe I'll go queen h5, because f4 is a little unfriendly to my co-worker on g3. I think I'll go here and only go f4 if I really have to. There's plenty of useful things to do. I would like to regroup this knight, knight e2, knight d4, knight f3, knight g5, stuff like that. f5 strikes me as a logical move, or f6, but I'll take knight f6 and let's say queen e2 and claim to be a little better with all of my bishops. I'm expecting queen b6. I've been trying to figure out how to react while I was talking, but I haven't made a lot of progress on that front. I guess I'll just go b3 and be unhappy about it. b5, that's an odd decision. I think that just weakens squares and yeah, helps my chances, frankly. Knight maneuver is in full effect. Not sure if knight f3 was needed. This knight was doing a pretty good job on d4 itself, but since I mentioned this plan earlier, I'm gonna try to see it all the way through. Rook e8, knight g5, knight df8. There's no breakthrough. Could very well be, actually. That would be a pity. Queen g4, h4 is another tempting plan, which I think I will now resort to, but it feels like the first step off the right track in a way. If I have to retreat queen g4, I'm not so sure this had to be done. Anyway, I want to go h4, h5 and keep putting pressure on the black position. But I'm not so sure. You know, so many options, so little time, all that. Now I can go knight c5, knight e4. Yeah, queen g4 was a little strange. Maybe I should have played b4 just to stop knight c5. We'll find out. My position still does look nicer. Having said all that. I'm tempted after knight c5 to just go rook c5 and h4. Probably I won't pull the trigger because I'm such a nit with material. But I'm tempted. Queen a5, do you really want to take here? You know what? Be my guest. Oh, this is the idea. Queen a4, that's a lot more humble. Don't really want to exchange queens though. I gotta be a little careful not to blunder things, which I'm very capable of after rook c1, queen a3. But it looks like rook d1 keeps everything covered for now. We'll see how this goes. He's hoping to gain counterplay after rook takes bishop c8, h5 with queen d1 check. Is that counterplay? Bishop f1. Back to f8. I don't really want the queen on d1, but it doesn't seem like such a big deal. Not blundering anything. Nope. Complicated position. These knights actually do cover a lot of squares, so it won't be easy to checkmate him. But it still feels very, very passive, the black position. I guess I should reshuffle my queen to a new assignment on a7 or c3. Trying to calculate stuff like queen a2, queen c3, hitting this, bishop b7, queen c7, queen d1. I don't think I need to go bishop f1, so we'll go here. Oh, I just spotted another plan I have. Knight g5 followed by queen f4. Could be that queen d1 was directed against that. I didn't even think of that plan, of course. Should be 7. I want to go queen c3. What bothers me, it allows d4, which I don't really want to happen. So I might just make a little harmless waiting / strengthening move. Those are always unpleasant to face with little time. Queen c1. Now my bishop is no longer hanging, so I can think about expedition into the black camp. Expeditions. Knight g5 maybe? I'm drifting a bit. Focus. Now bishop h4, my little harmless strengthening move, is not so useful. After queen c7 I'm going to have to go back. But such is life. My plan is subtle as usual, queen f6 followed by queen g7, and I'm not sure how he's going to stop that plan. Looks quite hard to stop to me. And therefore Galois resigns. Yeah, it was an unpleasant position, and if you have so many weaknesses to defend, at some point something often cracks here. I think queen e7 is what he had to do. Well, still after bishop h4 it's very hard to defend. So yeah, good old exchange Slav strikes again. This e6 is a bit passive after that black has to defend. Bishop f5 is the main move. All right, let's play someone else. Someone tells me well-known French mathematician Galois. I don't know these things. Come on, you know that all of my education is from whatever TV shows I've been watching. And if there is no TV show about it, probably haven't seen it. If there is a TV show about Mr. Galois, I probably also haven't seen it. I don't like the smart shows like this Manhattan that Svidler keeps humming on about. Not gonna watch it. What am I watching? Nothing really. I started this Swedish show called Modus that Lawrence Trent recommended. Some crime show, but I didn't really get hooked. The problem with subtitles is you have to focus all the time. And I want TV as a passive viewing experience where I can have a little second screen, or I was gonna say talk to people, but no one would believe me. It's hard to focus on stuff all the time. Beautrelet. I'm Preciso says Jan in suit plays better. I always wear a suit. The tie is the secret. The tie stops the amount of oxygen going to my brain, because else there's just too much oxygen up there. And then it's sometimes hard to focus on a puny chess game. So with this tie, I have just the right amount of blood flow in the head to crush all of you. Beautrelet is not with us, so I'm gonna abort this game. Sorry, Beautrelet. And also sorry for mispronouncing that name. Second season of Fortitude started on Sunday. I have no idea what that is. I'm so out of touch. What about Hip Ace? Is that your name? Maybe it's Hip Hase? High Pace? I do not know. E4. Interesting move. I normally go E5 in order not to give any extra space. We've had this discussion today in the show, and it's the good old Rilopeth. Is he gonna take? I dislike it when they take. Not that I'm scared of it, but I have a feeling Hip Ace was one of these dudes that might just take. What do you do here? So many options. Queen F6, F6, Bishop G4, Knight E7, Bishop E6, Bishop D6. I'll go here. Why not here? Queen D4, that's a mistake. You're supposed to go Bishop G5 first. Now Black gets a very good version of what Black normally wants in these lines. Does he want that? I don't know. Maybe Black gets a good version of what White normally wants, but I'll still take it. This is more typical for F6, D4, ED4 lines. Here, yeah, this is just fine for Black. Or at least, that is what I believe. That is what I believe, and I will not change my mind because of any evidence you might present. That's my approach to life. Yeah, I'm not so sure about this Bishop C5 move. It was a bit of an empty gesture. But I still think I have a good version of whatever this is. If he goes F4, I'm gonna take a long hard look. And by long hard look, I mean I'm gonna blitz out F5. Because E5 often has fool's gold in these structures. I hope this is one of these cases. It looks like a nice passed pawn, but it's not really going anywhere, while the black pieces are free to roam around it. That, once again, is my fantasy version of events. Not sure it will play out like this in practice. Rook d1. What can I do? Another little empty gesture move. I would like to go c5, but I don't want him to go knight d4. I was hoping that I will discourage him from playing bishop g1 because of rook d1, and he would have to recapture with a knight. Since rook d1, bishop f4 drops the pawn. Having said all that, recapturing with a knight is hardly a disaster. So yeah, who knows? Hip ace is still very much in the game. Why wouldn't he be? Fortitude is a good TV show. And Svidler's in trouble in Gibraltar? I'll have a look. But first I'll have a look at Fortitude. I don't think Svidler's in trouble. Who was he playing? He was playing this... No, is he Hungarian? No, the Romanian super talent. Deac, is that correct? I think that's correct. Alright, so where do I put my bishop now? Here, maybe to b6. Could make a case for both, but I'll go here. Just because it's protected. Go away. This would be a very non-standard decision. And normally, whenever I take non-standard decisions, I regret them instantly. And think to myself, why didn't you take the standard decision like a normal person? This is probably one of those cases. I'd seen some trick, but now I can't even recall where my trick's at. Knight c3 looks like the normal move. And bishop a5, is that what I wanted? It's rook e1. That allows me to go active. Don't we all enjoy a little activity once in a while? Not physical, of course, but you know, putting a rook on a second rank has not killed anybody ever. c3 keeps all his pawns for now, but it's gonna be very, very hard to improve all these kind of miserable pieces. I'm guessing he's gonna play a4, hope for the best. But yeah, I've taken control of this radio. a3, same story. Same idea. This is a very grim task for white, because, well, his pieces don't really get the job done. And one day or another, I believe that day is now, I'm gonna go after these pawns. g3. Take here or do I take? Yeah, I think I'll take immediately. Could have taken on g3 first as well, but this looked plenty good enough. Ah, slow rolling, g3 and then g4. He did avoid the en passant, but should still not save the day. If I was even more pretentious, I'd take on h2 and on f4 to show I can win an exchange down. But I prefer showing that I don't need to sacrifice the exchange to win this. That didn't make any sense. The usual. Still not over. It's always the e-pawn. How do I deal with it? Bishop f6 is the move I would like to play. Then knight e3 check bothers me a little bit. So I guess I'm gonna have to... I had to go for the least sexy option to block it with knight e7. Couldn't come up with anything better. I guess I'm still winning, but it's not exactly how I had envisioned this to go. If in doubt, take some more pawns, is what my dad always said. He didn't say that. I guess Hippas forgot that my rook was looming on the other side of the board, ready to pounce whenever something would appear on h3 there. Not that his position was great in the first place. So he's gonna have a deep think now? Oh no, he's typing something. Thanks for the game. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Hippas. And apologies for mispronouncing. And not mispronouncing consistently, but I think I changed the pronunciation like 5 times during the game. Anyway, thanks for the game, which was a very instructive, well-played game by me. Let's face it. Okay. time for a change of pace here. And I shall finally play somebody whose rating I can still double, which has become tougher and tougher with my recent rating losses and hair losses. Like, this is my new obsession, going bald at the temples. Really, really bothering me. But Rasmus88, who's probably from Denmark, judging by his flag and by the fact that it says Denmark. Probably called Rasmus and probably born in the year 1988. Now, the number 88 has negative connotations, but I do believe that it means that Rasmus was born in 1988. I played the Sicilian with 2 e6, and against e6 bishop c4 is not such a good idea, because I can immediately hit that bishop with my pawn. It's a better move after d6, but after e6 it's not so great, because this bishop could get in trouble. If I was greedy, I'm greedy, I could. Oh, sorry. I tried to hit the mute button, but I failed because I was so focused on sneezing. So, apologies if I just caused you a tinnitus. Is that the word? That was not the plan. I'm very, very sorry. Knight f6 played, h3. I'll just develop and hope that... I was going to say, hope that Rasmus lets me capture his bishop there. But he's played c3, after which he actually has a decent position. He lost the tempo on this d5, so bishop c4 is not ideal. But castles followed by d4. Nothing too bad has happened for white here. After c4, the bishop can go to c2, which is a fine square. So yeah, I don't mind his position. I will just get my pieces out. After dc, bishop c5, it looks like I have a pretty active version of an isolated queen's pawn position. Even though, maybe I shouldn't pre-move this, because after dc, bishop c5, bishop g5 might be a little uncomfortable. Well, now, after 94, I feel I'm very ready to take it. So far, Rasmus88, who I guess is relatively new to chess, has played an excellent game. Can't fault him at all. Equal material, got his king into safety, put his rook on the open file. This bishop has spent a little too much time moping around, but the position is still very much equal. So really, nothing wrong with the way Rasmus is playing. Now, 94 de, bishop e4, rook e4. I guess dc is nice for me. Yeah, that's probably a bit better for black. So we'll see how Rasmus handles the direct confrontation in the center. He decided to start with bishop e4. And I could still go bishop e4, rook e4, dc, queen d8, rook d8, bc, rook d1, but nothing special really. Nah, let's keep some pieces on the board. Does this work? Queen d5, knight d4, bishop e4, knight c6, bc worst case, yeah? Not so sure if queen d5 is a great move, but they want to simplify too much. We'll see what happens. Problem with queen d5 is I'm kind of self-pinning. I can no longer go dc3. Now I can, but I could not as long as the queens were facing each other. Knight fd2 covers the knight on e4. But it's a little passive, so I'll just bring more pieces into the game. So far so good. Rasmus still playing very well. I would like to be harder on him, but gotta call a spade a spade. He's played a good game so far. I'm doing fine because of my past pawn, but nothing out of this world. Knight g3 feels like moving this knight a little too much. I think I should have played bishop b2. And after knight d4, I was optimistic, but now it feels like my space advantage with this pawn could become a problem for white. I haven't really seen any tactics, but I have a feeling there should be some somewhere. Knight f3 accelerates the end. Knights are good blockers. You should not remove them unless you have to. Just as I'm saying that, I realized that after knight f3, queen f3, d2, I'm not actually winning like I thought I was. I kind of am. I'm winning enough. That's the thing with passed pawns. As Nimzovich said in this book, which I strongly dislike, My System, what did he say? The passed pawn is a criminal that has to be kept behind bars? Something along those lines. I have no idea what it means. But yeah, you don't want d2 to happen to you. The tactics is that bishop d2, I'll go bishop takes b1, and then rook takes b1, queen takes d2. While after anything takes f5, I would have gotten a new queen on e1. Rasmus is not discouraged, tries to checkmate me, but I have a feeling he might not have enough attackers to get the job done on the king side. And this bishop is still alive, it can retreat. Not that it matters, I was a rook up, now the game is very much decided, but Rasmus 88 did play a good game. How do I get this over with? I don't know. This accelerates the end. All this praise I've been issuing got to Rasmus's head, but he resigns. Then again, it was lost anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Thanks for the game, Mr. Rasmus 88. Any new faces here? I want to play someone I've never played before in this next game. How about... What about Don G? What does Don G stand for? He is from the Americas, the USA, and I don't know, Don G, is Don an Italian thing? Not really, right? I can't just assume because your name is Don G that you're Don Giovanni. Or can I? No, there's also Don Johnson. Is his name Don Johnson? And was Don Johnson the dude I saw in a series of unfortunate events the other day? I didn't Google, but he looked like Don Johnson. Don Johnson, a series. Was him, right? Yeah, thought so. Anyway, he's playing the... Not clear yet. Maybe he's playing the Stonewall a tempo up if he goes f4. Yeah, I figured he might be that type. Or he could have played the Semi-Slav a tempo up with knight f3. But this is pretty much an... What do you call this? A Dutch with colors reversed. Thing is though that normally with colors reversed, white would not get his pieces on squares as good as I have them now. Maybe I can elaborate later, but this is a very pleasant version for black. He had to go CD. Well, normally you want to go ED in such positions. And here I'm in good shape. Bishop f5 is not forced, but it's a reaction I like. Bishop f3 was also possible. This is a similar structure to the one we had in this game against Galois. I'm not sure I'm playing this well, knight e7. You could certainly argue about. But the point is that the white bishop is still sorry, quite passive. And this knight looks strong, but after I got my own knight to e4 and played f6, it has to return home. So it's not as imposing as it might look. Well, his bishop hopefully will remain passive, even though I have to be a little careful not to allow this bishop into a3. And frankly, I haven't been all that careful yet. Great sentence. It's never too late to start being all that careful. part 1 of the plan, force his horse back, has been accomplished. Part 2 is don't allow bishop a3 if it can be fought against, because I want this bishop to stay passive, locked up by his own pawns. Not here, hitting my valuable pieces. a4 has been played. And I'm still continuing with my plan to fight against bishop a3. But a queen is normally not a great piece to embark on such missions, because it's too valuable. Here even rook a1 would make bishop a3 very much a reality. So, yeah, could have done better. I have not really put my 1,000 extra internet elo points on the board yet. I am slightly better, but Don G is still very much in it. I'm gonna have to think of a new plan. Nah, the old plan, take his pawn and win somehow, is still plenty good. Sounds like I learned the word plenty like yesterday, and I'm dramatically overusing it. I've known it for a while, like 3 days. But somehow, I don't know, I've taken a liking to that word. Not sure if a6 makes any sense. I thought about a6 earlier when the queen was still on d3 to stop queen b5 after he went queen c2. It was arguably not priority number 1. And you know what? Let's play an endgame, Don G. I haven't played this well. Sadly. Miguel Galapieza is asking the question I ask myself every night before I cry myself to sleep. What happened with Jan's 2900 elo points? Used to be even more, 3000, and now they're all gone. I don't know, man. It's old age. Is my standard excuse for everything. But it might also be this major brain surgery I had the other day. I haven't fully recovered. Like most brain waves. I can't even finish that sentence, you see. It did do more damage than anticipated. Like most of my banter, you can't tell a difference because it wasn't very brainy to begin with. Neither were my cultural choices. But the chess has really been impacted by it. And I am kidding. I did not have brain surgery. If you had a recent brain surgery and are offended by these comments of mine, I deeply apologize. I meant no harm or offense to you or your loved ones. You know how times are. G3. Do I have a plan? I had a plan, but it didn't really seem to work. My new plan was to... Oh, hang on. Was to trap this bishop. Finally, one of my devious schemes have worked out. Didn't really have to work if you just took A, B, and then bishop somewhere, bishop c5 or bishop t6. But now this bishop is tarped, and therefore Don G does resign. Thanks for the game, Don G. Another noob, Mr. Pass Usted. By the way, well, I do appreciate, and I mean this in the most dishonest way possible, all the playful challenges in the chat, like Jan Let's Play. I do keep an eye on the chat, and thank you guys, but I'm always operating under the assumption that everybody who has challenged me wants to play, so it will not help your chances. It might actually hurt your chances to get a game if you keep asking me in the chat to play. So yeah, no need to do that. As for my system, whom I'm going to play, it's very random. I don't know. I just click on stuff. And I'm planning to keep it that way. So that's my two topics I love to whine about. Don't tell me let's play when I have a list of many challenges, and don't tell me who I should play, because I don't like to be told what to do. I just show up here at random hours and do random things. That's how I live my life. On the other hand, if you ask me questions about basketball, I'm a sucker and I will instantly get into a discussion. But I have to admit, I haven't really followed this season very much. I haven't had time to watch any games. I'm listening to my usual podcasts to keep me half up to date. Low Post, True Hoop TV. What else? Those are my main sources of basketball information. NBA Lockdown, I listen to that as well. So I haven't followed much. I always do enjoy the LeBron James storylines, this little rant, this back and forth, or mainly just back. He has with Charles Barkley now, and all the whining I did enjoy greatly. Else I haven't followed this season much. My policy is always the same. I'll start getting more engaged in the playoffs, and I root for every team that can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, which probably means I haven't thought it through that in the West I'm going to have to root for Golden State because they must have the best chances to defeat the Cavs in the finals. We all know that the Cavs are going to win the East, let's face it. My problem is I'm a little scared that Kevin Durant, and I keep mispronouncing Durant, people call me out for it. Anyway, my problem is that Kevin Durant has such a horrible record against LeBron. It might not matter that he has all these all-star teammates. He might just continue to be dominated by Mr. James. Speaking of dominated, let's briefly talk about this game. After knight c3, e6, pass usted, went for the sharpest line known to man, g4, bishop g6. Here, the normal continuation after, I believe, is knight ge2, and then after c5 to go h4. He started with h4, but here h5 is already asking some questions. Not so easy what white should do. He went with knight h3, but I'm in time to go hg now. Bishop g5, queen b6 I thought was smart. To meet queen g4 with queen b2. And after knight a4, I hope I can win a piece with queen a5 check. This is hanging, c3 I'll take this, and bishop d2 I'll take this. So I thought there was no real way to parry all this. What other NBA story narratives are there? Oh, I enjoy what's happening in Chicago. I don't like the Bulls. I always thought the Bulls are overrated every season for the last 8 years. I'm not sure why I don't like them. Mainly, it's probably Derrick Rose's fault, even though he's gone now. So I should start disliking the Knicks. But how can you dislike the Knicks? They're cursed enough. It's hard to root against the Knicks. And I was in New York the last time they made it to the finals, whenever there was, 99 maybe? Marcus Camby. They did lose, but it was a fun time to be there. So no, I don't dislike the Knicks. I'm sure you guys really, really care what random US sports teams I root for or root against. But we gotta talk about stuff while we're flagging Mr. Pass Usted. I'm a piece up, so the chess drama is sort of no longer here, even though Pass Usted does his best to make it look like a sharp position. But it's really not. Should I get some pieces out? Nah. I will try to put my knights on light squares, because it's easy for dark horses to embrace the dark side. And sometimes the light side is more work, but it's worth it in the long run, if I understood Star Wars correctly. And Pass Usted resigns. Or no, he doesn't resign. He loses on time. But I was gonna win on the board anyway. Time for another specialty of this show. It's the bathroom break. I know you've been waiting for this one. My apologies. I'll read you a joke first. Oh no, I don't have any jokes. I'll be back in not a couple minutes. 1 minute, 24 seconds. See you then. And we're back. What did I miss? Basketball talk? Mainly basketball talk. I shall play another game of chess. Who against who? Oh, looks like I never played our boy Facepalm Chess. Very active in the Chess24 chats of the world. From France, let's give him more reasons for facepalming. What about c5? Not a good move, it allows d5, but I have a feeling it will greatly confuse Mr. Facepalm. He reacts very solidly, dc and e3. And we're playing sort of a Queen's Gambit accepted with colors reversed, which of course is possible to do with white. It's not every white player's dream. But what to do? Piano 9057 says 1 minute 44. Is that true? I might have been sitting here for 20 seconds, not switching to back, but I'll take your word for it. Ever since I started washing hands, like this process has slowed down tremendously. And that was a joke. Oh boy. I think it's a big sign of not being overly funny if whenever I try to make a joke I have to clarify there was a joke. So not much to say about it. Did I say our boy? No, I said oh boy. Oh boy is something I always say, normally when I have a bad position. But I do agree that Mr. Trent infected me with this our boy talk, or my boy, which is not my thing normally, because I don't have any boys. Sad but true. I have a good position here against Facepalm Chess. I should. Didn't I say I should explain more chess today? You should have played c4, not c3. Because, yeah, this plan is a little slow. And after you played c3, c3 was bad. But now you should say b as well and go b4, b5. Grab some space at least. Because after knight b3, bishop d6, h3, the white position is very passive. And black will find it easy to generate an initiative. For example, here by going e4, followed by queen to e5. This will be very awkward to meet. I'm aware you probably understood the joke, but you know, since trouble sometimes no time for comedy, so you gotta explain everything you say. F4 was more resilient. I was threatening queen h2 checkmate. F4, ef, knight f3. After g3 I can just pick up this pawn and then inflict more damage on the king side. Hopefully. How do I go about inflicting more damage? h5, h4 looks like an obvious way to damage facepalm chess's position and hopefully reputation. Because you don't want to just beat people, you want to crush their reputation as well in the game. That should be the goal. Still hanging around. Rook f4 is the only chance I'm going to put my queen somewhere to attack that rook. But then white should just leave it where it is, sacrifice the exchange, and hope for the best. The best won't be very good, but it's still the only chance. Omo Kane is asking, which is scariest, playing against Karpov or Kasparov? I can't answer that question. I have never played either. If I look all the way that way, it means I'm reading the chat. If I look here, it means I'm looking at the board. If I look here, it means I'm looking into the camera. I know, it's confusing. It is weird for me too. And my New Year's resolution to stop moving my head all the time, like I am on heavy medication, has not really borne fruit? No, that doesn't sound right. Has not really worked yet. Facepalm Chess, in the meantime, has done what I told him to do. Sacrifice the exchange. His position is still fairly miserable because of the extra pawn and extra exchange that I have. But sometimes you gotta roll with it. He offers a draw, which I will decline. Not by clicking on it, but verbally. And therefore Facepalm Chess resigns. Thank you for the game, Mr. Facepalm Chess. I hope some facepalms have been inflicted. What time is it? 17:59. That's almost 6 p.m. That means we still have half an hour to fill with exhausted banter. Nah, I'm not that exhausted. Any other noobs? This is everyone's favorite part of the show when I scroll through the list. And then click on something. Did I click on something? I tried to click on something, but my clicking skills have deteriorated. So I'll do the good old blind click. Did something happen? Oh yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. No, it's alright, Facepalm Chess. I'm aware I often also hit the draw button instead of the resign button. And I'm always a little embarrassed about it. Now I'm playing against Grey Wolf. What is that? He's posing somewhere in the desert? Is that like a... I don't know where that is. Is that you at Burning Man? Probably not. And Kiftir raises a very valid question. Is Pramod here? Where is Pramod? Has Pramod abandoned me? Has he found new friends? I don't know. It does make me a little nervous that he's not here. Nervous enough to play the Caro-Kann against Grey Wolf. Inspired by the recent Anish Giri outings in the Caro-Kann. I thought If Geary can play it, so can I. That's not really what I thought. This is the en vogue line, 95 here, arguably, a bit more critical than h5, where black decides not to do knight d7 in order to have the option maybe later down the stretch to go c5 without having put this knight here. I'm not 100% sure how all of this works, but I have seen lines like this, where if I get lucky, this knight can still be developed to c6, which of course would be a nicer square than knight d7. And if you start with an earlier knight d7, like somewhere around here, then you don't have that option. If that option will bring me great joy is another question. Bluesy is asking me to brag about my many accomplishments. Who's the strongest player you've beaten in classical chess? Rating-wise, I don't know. My policy has always been to beat them while they're young. I never managed to beat a very young Magnus. I did beat a young Caruana and a not that young Nakamura. So those are the biggest scalps. As for rating, I'm not sure. I beat Khalifma when he was world champion. I was happy with myself there. But yeah, I don't know. In general, I've always been a very drawish player. So my list of big scalps is sadly limited. I haven't really counted here, but I am emerging a pawn up, right? I thought his idea was to, after queen takes d5, to go queen takes d5. When ed bishop f6 or knight d5 bishop g7 wins the pawn back. Well, now I am a pawn up. Do I go gf or bishop f6? Probably gf, because knight e4 was coming. I want to have this covered, and I want to be able to go f5 to fight for this e4 square. Very often it's white's problem in these lines. If you later get some endgame, that the knight on g3 can be very, very misplaced. And therefore, even here, I believe he should have played knight e4 just to bring this knight back into business as soon as possible. List of big draws. I've drawn many a player in my day. I never played Magnus, so I don't have that draw on the list. I lost the only game I ever played against Vichy. Everybody else I probably drew, which, yeah, is not something to brag too much about. If you're a chicken like myself and you have the white pieces, then yeah, you have good drawing chances. That's the story. Longest drawing streak, I don't know, I haven't counted. I guess I always had enough weak opponents mixed in that I never got any Geary-esque drawing streaks, but I wasn't for lack of trying. This endgame looks fairly hopeless for white already, because not only is he a pawn down, his knights are also quite passive, so I believe that I'm gonna be able to collect more pawns in the near future. And pawns are an important factor in endgames. I did miss rook a3 though, which is slightly embarrassing. Yeah, that's pathetic. Should have seen that. I'm still doing fine, but knight c4, rook a7 is counterplay, which I don't want to allow. Getting some texts here. Anything exciting? Nah. Knight d2. Interesting move. You know what? I'll play this, because I think your intention is to go knight b3. And I don't want that to happen. So now after knight b3 I can go knight c4. The pawn would be covered. Maybe it wasn't your intention at all. Then my rook on a8 looks rather stupid. But such is life. time to take the banter out of Banter Blitz. Let's just sit here, play a nice game of Blitz. And Grey Wolf resigns. Thanks for the game, Grey Wolf. Yeah, I'm sure I missed some tactics around here. Someone wrote bishop b2. I saw bishop b2, but I didn't like it because of rook a5, b8, king b2. And maybe I'm winning, but maybe I'm not, and it felt very unnecessary. And thanks for the game, Grey Wolf. He says, thank you and great show. Thank you so much. You haven't seen it yet. It's... Some people might not call it a show. Let's play Mr. Zebby 1996. Once again, my default guess with numbers is that they are the year of birth. Sometimes they are the chess rating. Or just a year they enjoyed. Summer of 96, maybe that's Zebby's favorite summer of all time. And that's why he decided to call himself Zebby 1996. But I would guess that he was born in 1996, which for a very old man like me, who was born in 1979, always sounds like if you're born in 1996, you're probably, I don't know, in elementary school, but then you do the math and it turns out that Zebby 1996 is 21 years old. I'm just really, really old. However, the line we're playing is a line that might rejuvenate me. The good old, what do they call this? I call it the Fischer Caro-Candace ED Bishop D3 line. It's really a Queen's Gambit exchange with colors reversed. Queen C7 is one of many moves, and my favorite one, Knight E2, Bishop G4. Now F3, Bishop D7, Bishop F4, E5 is one line. Bishop to F4 is the more cautious way to play this position, when black can equalize with Queen takes F4 or Bishop takes E2. But Zebby goes for it. He's gonna give me this isolated pawn. However, the knight on e2 and the pawn on f3 aren't perfectly placed for these structures, so I always thought this was a good line for black. And we'll find out if I'm right about it. Oh, EM Preciso. There's no fooling you. Summer of 96 made you think of the Bryan Adams song, Summer of 69. I thought I was gonna get away with it, but no chance. Was it the best time of your life? Not even I'm that old to recall the summer of 69. I think, I shouldn't pre-move that. I think one of his friends got a job, the other got married. So, times have changed. No, I don't really know the lyrics. Who got a job and who got married? Now I want to look it up. Summer of 69 lyrics. Jimmy quit and Jody got married. Maybe Jimmy didn't get a job. Maybe he just quit and stayed a bum even after the summer. Me and some guys from school had a band and we tried real hard. Is this autobiographical, Bryan Adams? I should have known we'd never get far. You made it pretty far, right? Aren't you the most famous Bryan Adams in history? More famous than the guys from the St. Louis Chess Club and Scholastic Center even. I don't know. Sounds like fake humility to me, which is a theme I'm not familiar with at all. Hamburg streets are not really covered with huge plates of ice, but they're covered with this lovely, what is the English word? I don't even know the word. Much schlamm, some disgusting, wet, brown, slightly slippery mess Summer of 42. Oof. This is getting older and older. And no, I meant Bryan Adams, not Brian Smith. As for the game, I'm doing fine. Zebi, for some reason, doesn't want to take on e5. I'm gonna keep asking him to. If he keeps turning me down, I might do something about it and go e4 in the distant future. The year 2000, the distant future. No. This is the distant future. The humans are dead. Queen b1, this is too subtle. Let's not overdo the subtle stuff. I really want to trap this bishop. But I can't. I want to go e4, and then I change my mind for no obvious reason. I'm expecting him to go bishop h4 to make sense of his queen b1 operation. But I can't read Zebi. I just can't get a read on this man. What is your intention, Zebi? What are your goals in life? We will never know. Is Zebi short for Sebastian? It is in Germany. Probably is everywhere else too. Who's your favorite Sebastian? Is it the guy from Cruel Intentions? Probably is. I don't know any real people, so I have to think of movie characters. Ryan Phillippe's character in Cruel Intentions is called Sebastian. What other Sebastians are there? Johann Sebastian Bach? Nah. Must be lots of Sebastians. How bad is Fiedler's position? Stop. It's still bad? I'm gonna have a look. Secretly, while I'm playing against Zebi here on this side, because people keep saying in the chat that Fiedler's in trouble in Gibraltar. I understand that for the millions of you people that are not watching this show live, but later on the YouTubes, this will all be very confusing and dated. But what to do? Nino Anton drew against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Good tournament, great tournament so far by Mr. Anton. Fantastic stuff. And yes, Fiedler is indeed in some trouble. He chose a very sharp opening, but still a sharp position, so I wouldn't write him off just yet. I might lose on time while I keep checking out P-Svidi over there. No idea what to do. H5, H4 looked instructive to fix stuff, and so that he can't bother me with G4 here. And now I can slowly but surely build up a lethal attack on the king side. Or win on time. Probably win on time. And I did win on time, just as my lethal attack was catching some momentum. The game ended so abruptly. Isn't it dissatisfying when you're playing an interesting game of chess and then all of a sudden it ends because you won on time? Okay, no one's gonna believe me saying that. But yeah, the Svitzer is gonna be alright. Don't you guys worry. You watch. I don't think he's losing. I understand the computer says 140 or whatnot, but it's a weird position, opponent low on time, and all that good stuff. So, there is hope. What time is it? Speaking of time. 18:17. Let's play another game. And then have a look around. Who do we have right here? Mr. Robert Pizou. Not Sisu, but Pizou. From Romania. Good old knight f3, c4. Ah, it's a 3-minute game. I have this resolution to switch to 5-minute games because it's just, there's not enough time to talk about stuff. Not that I've been talking about anything, in fairness, but there's also not enough time to do so when you're playing a 3-minute game. Just gotta bang out all these moves. And we're here for the banter, or I am. Some people might hear for the whining or for learning something about chess, be bitterly disappointed. But I'm really here to talk nonsense, which is much harder to do if I have to play a 3-minute game on the side. As for this line, this bishop f5, a6 line, it's very popular recently because of Magnus Carlsen. After bishop e2, the main move is h6, while the line played in this game also looks reasonable for black, but might give white some more chances for an advantage. b5 I decided to take. Now that this knight can no longer come to c6, it can come to b6 and c4, so the situation is by no means clear. But yada yada yada, I hope to be a little better here and then to eventually win on time or something. After he castles, it's time to eliminate this thingy, and I should probably prepare my a4 operation a little bit. Rook fc1 is useful if he goes knight b6. I want to go a4, knight c4, bishop e1, so that this rook no longer is locked in on the f1 square. Well, if black goes b4, then his knight on b6 will feel a little silly. Knight takes a4, I'm a bit better. So blah blah blah. That's why I waited for knight b6 to play a4. Problem is my knight also feels a little silly. So if he goes b4, I don't know where I'll go, d1 or whatever dumb square I choose. My horse also won't be too thrilled with it. But I still believe. It does go here. I thought this was good for me, but I did not think it through as usual. All right. New plan is to put my queen somewhere, get out the way, queen a2, and then play b3, and eventually, after careful maneuvering, pick up the pawn on b5. And as usual, all of this is a lie. All I want is to win on time. All I wanted was a new Mercedes. I was going to go to b2, but you gotta be careful about bishop a3s. And who wants to be careful? Maybe I should have gone to e2 to take b5. Queen c2 was a little odd. What is this? Queen a3. Do I have petite combinaisons? I could take and go queen c8 check, but no, it doesn't really win material. So I'll do whatever. Knight b1 maybe. The careful maneuvering to win the b5 pawn. Still in full effect. Might not look like it, but here we go. Told you. Oh! I have to change plans a little here. My plan was to go f3, knight g5, knight d2, and then queen takes d2. It's more than just a little unpleasant, and that might mean that all of my play leading up to this point has been kind of bad. Queen b2 sets a little tarp after queen takes b3. I have rook c8 check, but can't fool Robert Pizou. There's no fooling him. Don't you hate these moves that you have to fill while you're flagging, where you have to pretend to still be thinking about the position and to make sense, when all you want really is to win on time and go home. Check. See, that costs him 3 seconds. Mission accomplished. Another highly educational game against Robert Pizou. I think we have time for one more because of my expert fast flagging in this one. Thanks for the game, Robert Pizou. What about Aura Chess? Oh no, I clicked on somebody else, I think. Apologies, Aura Chess. I was gonna click on you, but then it jumped and I landed on AAS Thesis. Now I feel bad and I'm gonna have to play Aura Chess as well. Oh boy, it's gonna be a long show. Enro Carter is saying, the day where two Spanish guys speak English to each other, he's going to kill himself. Then don't do that, Enro Carter, but please go to a Spanish chat. This is an English show. That would be very nice, because not all of us can understand you. I can actually, but in general I try to keep the language of the chat to wherever I'm in. Looks like AS Thesis is not there, so I shall abort and then play the dude I originally tried to click on and failed. Of course I forgot his name by now, but I'm sure if I see it again, I will remember. Lots of challenges. Here we are, Aura Chess. Okay, seriously, Spanish dudes, stop taking over the chat. It's not really my job to moderate it from here. I'm just playing chess. But yeah, don't do it. It's not nice. Not everybody can understand. Not everybody can understand the beauty of the gioco piano, but more and more people are making an effort to do so. Mainly because at the highest level, bishop b5, knight f6 is tilting people, and they are looking for new ways to play. And if the world elite plays the gioco piano, the rest of us will follow. The problem is here, it's not the most exciting of positions. Oh, knight c3. All right. Normally at least white goes c3, b4. So for this stuff, I've never really studied it. Not sure there is much to study. It's solid for both sides, I would guess. The problem is, I'm assuming the best way to play is to take and then to go bishop e6, but that looks so dull, I can't get myself to do it. Let's spice it up a little. Maybe this is a pawn sacrifice, I'm not sure. But the other line looked a little too boring. And Enrocator, I hear your point, but not in the Spanish chat. You are free to talk in private messages as much as you want. As for this position, after ed knight d5, knight d4, I haven't seen anything immediate, but I had the feeling that I would have enough initiative. After knight ed4, knight f4, knight ft4, I'm not sure what I would have done, but the bishops get squares. But Aura Chess does not want to take the pawn And that allows me to plant my knight on f4. With, I think, a nice position. Still, not easy to break through. White is very, very solid. And my bishop on c8 isn't doing all that much, which always makes it tempting to just take on h3 here and get the bishop out of the way. I don't think it really works, because after bishop h3, g8, queen d7, this is a common motive. But white has rook e4, hitting my knight on f4, so I don't think that is a great idea. Means I have to be more humble, not my strongest suit. I'll go here, knight e4, I have queen g6, so it's not a blunder, hopefully, and then see what happens. Yeah, I think queen f6 was a good move, just covering this guy. Knight e4, queen g6, as mentioned, is unpleasant to meet. Even though, hang on, knight e4, queen g6, knight h4, am I blundering pieces while I'm praising myself? That'd be awkward. I guess it worked, knight h4, knight h3. We will probably never find out. But yeah, still interesting. This bishop on c5 wasn't doing all that much. So after king h2, it feels sensible to put it on d6, just to discourage knight e4 further. Because without knight e4, I will find it quite tough to challenge my pieces, my knight here, and blah blah blah. If untroubled, I can just get my pieces out. Bishop d7, b5, c5, rook e8, whatever. See what happens. Yeah, Grand Muppet, I've noticed that, I don't know, the dashboard of Chess24 has become a bit more multilingual than it used to be, but I'm sure the programmers will be working on fixing that. And as for our daily Where is Waldo mission, we can all rest now that Pramod is here. We thought Pramod had abandoned us, found new friends, but good news, Pramod NVS has entered the building, asking what after knight h4. I have no idea. Pramod, I don't really calculate. I try to talk nonsense. Today I'm not even talking that much. I've just been sitting here quietly making moves. So don't ask me such complicated questions. At least he says hello after the what after knight h4. Pramod, people were panicking here in the chat. They thought something might have happened to you. But there you are. As for the position, now that Mr. Light Square Bishop is entering the discussion, the white position should crumble, or at least should cost him an exchange. But once again, gotta give credit where credit is due. Aura Chess has played a very good game. I think this king h2, king g1 cost him some time. But he's played well. I wasn't all that thrilled with my position for most of the time. Facepalm Chess has to leave. Bye, Facepalm Chess. Or just taking a while here, trying to find a way out, but I'm afraid there was none. I'll just take. Now, can I go knight g2? Or is knight g2 any good? I know I can do it. Why not? It's not really any spectacular combination. I'm just winning the knight back. And I still have an extra exchange. But apart from the plan B-ness of it all, the position is not clear. Well, this makes it a little clearer. I think I had to go queen h1. because this queen on h2 is gonna be quite hard to deal with. Queen h1, knight g1. Don't know. Let's bring some more pieces into the game. And Aura Chess does resign. Pramod NVS says, I'm fascinated when Jan speaks about openings more than middle game play. That's all I know, Pramod. You've been around long enough to understand that middle game play, I'm just winging it. I put my pieces somewhere, hope for the best, while openings, I know my way around. Therefore, I talk about it more. Anyway, we are at the end of the show. Normally I have this I'm sorry corner, but I'm not really sorry anymore for anything. So we have to replace the I'm sorry corner with something new. And I thought I could read out some of the, how can we call this? Jan's phone corner. Because whenever I notice something amusing, I write it down in my phone. That's not true. It's not that amusing. But yeah, it's some short notes I write to myself. Like, for example, dolphins only have a good image because of their short teeth. It's a thought I had the other day. So you might want to contemplate that. Or what else do we have? I stopped buying eggs. Too much of a hassle to carry them home in multiple baskets. Because, you know, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, they say. Yeah, it's quality material. There's more than one way to skin a cat. What is that expression about? Is it Garfield haters? Yeah, the punchline needs some work. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make it to roast battle anytime soon. But I'll keep working, There's plenty more where these came from. Thank you guys for watching the show. There's always Gibraltar to check out. Who knows, I might be doing some German commentary for the last round. But I might not, like, who knows. Check out the now multilingual Chess24 starting page on Thursday. You German speakers out there, I might be doing a bit of commentary. What else is new? Not much. Tata Steel is over. I'm still recovering. Nah, I shouldn't whine about all the workload. It's so tough to sit here and read out computer lines and talk a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, I'm still recovering from that. That's all there is. I've heard that Radio Jan is contemplating doing another Banter Blitz. I'm not sure he's gonna pull the trigger. I personally would hate to see one of the valuable Jan Gustafsson Banter Blitz time slots be wasted on that moron. But you never know. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.